did me again, Pajama Man.
Yes, Dr. Grime. Your nefarious forces of refuse have once again been overcome by those of good and cleanliness.
For I am Pajama Man, friend of the good, foe of evil.
Sorry.
Pajama Man!
I'm sorry, he sounds like a teenager.
That was an exciting episode. Pajama Man is the greatest. Oh well, time to turn off the TV.
Stay tuned for an important news flash. Pajama Man fans everywhere can meet Pajama Man in person. Today only, Pajama Man will be signing autographs at a shopping mall near you.
I am.
Wow! I can go meet Pajama Man and get his autograph. Oh boy!
Why does he sound old? It's supposed to be like
Pajama
5.
Man and get his autograph. Mom, the TV said Pajama Man's at the mall and he's signing autographs so we can go meet him. If you can drive me, can we go? Can we go? Mom!
Okay, calm down, Sam. I guess I have a few things I could get at the mall. Why don't you go up to your room and pick out something for your hero to sign? I'll make up my shopping list.
Oh boy! Thanks, Mom. I know an autograph is just somebody writing their name. But if I'm gonna meet Pajama Man, I've gotta have just the right thing for him to sign.
No.
Ooh, and I know just what that is.
I understand the complaints now.
Ugh. Oops, I think I knocked over some stuff. I should probably put some of this stuff away. Maybe later.
And the,
I want Pajama Man to sign my best comic book. My rare first issue of Pajama Man.
the mouth doesn't match up at all.
Not
Yeah,
here?
true.
Oh,
She was already planning to go.
No. My mint condition extra collectible Pajama Man issue number 1 is gone.
Oh no.
My favorite comic book is missing. There it goes.
I cannot get over his voice.
No! Something or
He sounds like
someone
12.
pulled it down into that big pile of junk.
And he's supposed to be
No
5.
nefarious forces are at work here, but I gotta get my comic book back. This is a job for Pajama Sam. All I need is my cape. Oh boy.
Wow, I wonder where the things I'm supposed to click on are. Alright, I'm going in with an open mind. Okay. Let's click on some stuff.
Yay! I found my cape.
Oh, really? Oh.
Now to go after my comic book. Beware, evildoers and stealers of stuff.
I was hoping I could click on all of
Here
them.
comes Pajama Sam.
I guess I just picked the right one.
Ta-da!
Oh my god, a sad sock. Wait, I need to... Oh boy. Let's turn this down a little bit. Okay. Oh god, look at his face! The game, by the way, is stretched out for me. Which is gonna make some things funnier, I think. Like his face. But honestly, it looks weirder in the normal quote-unquote normal version that you guys are seeing, so. But yeah, it's stretched out because it's in full screen mode, but for some reason in the capture, it's not stretched out. So I don't know what that's about. The mouth movement is synced so well to the voice clips. He totally didn't just say ta-da, but mouth too.
Little Sock. My name's Sam.
Hi, Sam.
You sound sad. Is everything okay?
Well, now that you mention it, no.
What's wrong?
He
Is it
sounds like
something I can help
off-brand.
you with?
It's a sad situation. I suppose the best way to explain it is this.
No.
Sock out on his own is like a sea without a shore. And 'cause I got some mud on me, I can't get in my drawer. A sock out on his own is just one out of a pair. I miss my matching sock so bad it fills me with despair. They say there's no
What is
place for
happening?
me amongst the clean because I'm dirty. I know none of them can see inside.
Having a little dirt on you is not such a bad thing, is it?
Inside my
Ham.
heart is truly
Bad
free
ham.
from dirt and filth and food debris.
Bonks for you.
But what good is a spotless heart when we are a pair apart?
Oh my god, what is happening? Pants don't count. No. Bonks, not pats. Bonks.
To be part of a pair.
Spoiled ham. I've been attacked.
Together more than
The pants should not count in this. They're attached to each other.
clean because I'm dirty. I know none of them can see inside.
They're like, ha, we're a pair, and we can never be separated. Fuck you. Same with the sunglasses.
When we're a pair.
This is going on way too long. Yeah, and the headphones.
Now do you understand my position?
Ken's leggings don't have
You're sad
feet.
because you can't be
You're thinking
together
of
with the
tights.
other blue sock because you're dirty and the other one's clean.
Right. Now you're starting to think like a sock. We clothes get very sad.
Now you're
when we're
starting
not
to
in
think like a
pairs.
sock.
Hats don't come in pairs.
That's why you never see a happy hat.
Oh, well, why don't you come along with me? Maybe I can help get you and the other sock back together.
Do you really mean that?
Pajama Sam is on the job. I'm missing something I care about
No,
very much, too.
there is a
My
difference.
Pajama Man
There is a
comic.
difference.
I saw a comic
Leggings
book.
are
An old half-eaten
thicker,
cheese
generally made of
sandwich came by here
spandex,
just a little
and
bit
don't
ago
have
carrying
feet.
a comic.
Tights
He said
tend to
somebody
be
named
thinner, but
Dr.
can be
Grime was
thicker,
signing
and are
autographs
either
at the
knit
Grubby
or
Corners
like
Mall,
nylon,
and he wanted this Dr.
and they
Grime
have
to sign
feet.
it.
Oh my gosh!
There's a difference.
I have to find it. If Dr. Grime touches it, it'll be filthy forever. Come on, little sock. I have to find the Grubby Corners Mall.
What? Okay. I guess, pantyhose are thin tights. Where did that sock go? In his cape. Okay, I guess we're going somewhere. Let's go this way. Oh, hello. You're a large sock.
Hi, my name is Sam.
Sam, will you be my friend? It's very lonely being the only sock without a companion.
Sure, little sock. I'll be your friend. I'm going to try to find a way to get your matching sock clean so that you can get back together.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
All in a day's work
boop,
for a superhero.
That sock really just said, boop, boop. I'm willing to die on this hill I just created and have no emotional investment in. Oh, Kenj. You're gonna make some girlies mad. I think I'm ready for the internet. So I guess we're trying to stop our comic book from getting dirty. By going to the okay, Grubby Corners Mall. Hello. Let's go.
Not so fast, kid. You know the rules?
What rules?
Ignorance of the rules is no excuse.
What?
I'm gonna tell you the rules now. We have a strict dress code. No shirt, no shoes, no socks, no service. Are you hip to that?
Hip?
What?
Are you sure you can't let me into the mall just for a little while? I need to get my comic book.
Not like that. No shirt, no shoes, no socks, no service.
Do I really need all those clothes just to go in?
Get shirt, get shoes, get socks, get in.
But I'm wearing a onesie. That counts for shirt and socks. Did he not mention pants? He didn't say anything about pants.
One of my Pajama Man trading cards. I'd better pick that up.
Oh, cool. Trading cards. Dust Devil. Dust Devil is one of the foul weathermen. Yeah, he was in the other game. He has the power to blow people around, and he also makes them cough if they inhale a little of him. Was this written by a 5-year-old? No, not creepy treats all over again. He can blow down houses of straw, houses of sticks, and even houses of brick. But Pajama Man Dust Devil is just a big blowhard. Who wrote this? Okay. Alright, I guess we have to go get a shirt and shoes and socks.
Oh, consarn it. Blasted dust bunnies won't hold still long enough for me to catch them.
Oh, they're supposed to be dust bunnies.
What are those big fuzzy things?
I am so speechless.
Hello,
Well, howdy there.
my name's Sam.
There's
They
a
call
card
me the
back
Happy
there.
Farmer. Nice day, isn't it?
I guess so. It's as nice as any other.
And that's pretty darn nice in my book. Some days it rains. Them days is nice too. I have to put on my wrapper then, but rain is nice. Rain's good for my crops.
What sort of crops do you grow?
Spaghetti and breadsticks. I don't have much space, you see, but that's nice too. It doesn't take as long to plow the field. But lately I switched to raising these bunnies.
They're so cute. What kind of bunnies are they?
Well, them's dust bunnies. They're fun to raise, and they raise me a nice profit. I'm supposed to be able to shave them once a week and sell their wool. That's if I can ever catch them.
See ya,
It would be
Kenj.
nice to catch them.
I'm just dumbfounded by the voice acting that's happening right now.
Another card!
Why does it sound like they're using like a bad microphone? Pajama Pooter. That's terrible. Super powerful computer is over 10 times as powerful as an ordinary computer, which is why it fills an entire room. They very likely are using a bad microphone. Like, the old games didn't sound like this, so why does this one? Like, they sound good. Helps Pajama Man fight crime, balance his checkbook, and play exciting computer games. Why? Who wrote this? Is this like a different company? Wait, let me look. Not written by the same primary creators as the first game. First 3 games. Okay. Dana Sam's voice is by a different person. We already knew that. Yeah, because it was made by Atari. It was released after Atari's takeover of Humongous, I guess. I guess Atari took over Humongous at one point. It doesn't have varying puzzles? So it's complete luck that I picked the right game. Wait, okay. Due to time constraints, this is the only Pajama Sam to not have varying puzzles. What the heck? There was a plan for the shirt task to also have a varying path, but they didn't get to it. Yeah, this game received generally negative reviews for its long list of issues such as Sam's new voice actress, low-quality animations, and out-of-sync movements. Weak plot, technical issues with the game having loading problems, with Sam moving from room to room, and, a villain never showing up. This game, along with Putt Putt Pep's Birthday Surprise, has an outdated copy protection, which is where the game can only function if the physical disc is in the drive, or if you have a physical disc in the drive. Otherwise, the game will either crash or not start up. Yeah, so that's the reason why I haven't played this before, is because the Steam version is broken. And then I remembered that you can download ISOs. So I had it on my computer for a rainy day when I did not feel like doing anything else. Fun fact, the Pajama Pooter can also be used to slice bologna. Due to time constraints, this is the only game in the series to not be a game. Yeah. Okay.
Aha!
Another card. Thunder is Lightning's partner in crime when the two of them stir up scary bad weather. Thunder always wears rubber-soled sneakers when around Lightning. What? Thunder first appeared in issue 803. The weather wore tennis shoes. Fun fact, Thunder's bicycle is louder than most motorcycles. Okay. What's this do?
That's part of the yarn-making machine. The farmer needs that.
Oh, okay.
I thought making yarn was going to be hard, but it looks easy. Wool goes in one end and yarn comes out the other. It's as easy as falling off a log. More fun, too.
Why does he sound like that? Not to be rude, but, why?
I thought making yarn was going to be hard.
Don't make me listen to that again. Like, all of the quality is just completely down. Okay, I'm not sure what to do with that, so we'll come back another time when I figure that out, I guess. We'll go this way. Those raisins.
Those are some big raisins.
Those are some big raisins.
You sure are heavy.
Okay, I can put them places, I guess, in this spoon.
If these heavy raisins were on the eating end, I'll bet that whatever was on the other end of the spoon would go flying.
Okay.
Putting the raisins on the eating end would make the other end of the spoon flip up. If something were on the other end, I'll bet it would go flying.
Isn't there a banana on the other end? Okay, put it back. That's right, the replaces your mouse is horrible. It's not great. Pajama Man card. Pajama Man is the flannel-garbed guardian of Metro City and is the bravest and best-dressed crime fighter around. Seriously, did Sam make these cards himself? He never takes off his pajamas, not even in the bathtub. His only weakness is that he's vulnerable to open trap doors. Are you kidding? That's stupid. Pajama Man first appeared in issue 1, The Secret Origin of Pajama Man, and has appeared in every issue since then with the exception of 384 when he was on vacation. This is Megamind Post movie. No, not Metrocity. Metro City. Really? The protagonist first appeared in issue 1? Yeah. Favorite snack? Anything, as long as it's a bedtime snack. That's stupid. So, Pajama Man has no personality is what we've learned today. He defends Metro City and he's blue.
That sparkly clean jar would be good for keeping things in. It's got a lid and everything.
A jar! Okay. Apparently I can go that way.
Look at all the drawers in this dresser. It's a long way up to the top. Guess I'd better start climbing. I'm a climbing fool.
Okay.
I made it all the way to the top.
Whoa.
Hey, look! Another trading card.
That was easy. Dr. Grime. Dr. Grime is Pajama Man's oldest and dirtiest enemy. He's the lord of all that is dirty and putrid. Why does this sound like something I would have written in elementary school? He has sworn to rid the world of cleanliness and spotlessness. His main power is that everything he touches gets dirty. Dr. Grime first appeared in issue 1, The Secret Origin of Pajama Man. Fun fact, Dr. Grime isn't a real doctor. Wow. Is this a...
That fishnet would be useful for catching any sort of critter smaller than me.
About a month or two ago, you complained about heavy-handedness in your drawing, and I think I found something that helps. Oh, really? That's cool. A ladder. Now I can climb up here. He's just like me for real.
Ooh, a Pajama Man trading card.
Ooh! Malevolent milk molecules. They may look cute, but these pasty little critters are malevolent milk molecules. They're pure greasy hate. They're the evil opposite of regular milk molecules. Instead of making bones strong and healthy, they eat bones from the inside. Actually, that's kind of cool. Once they got into Milkman's body, but Pajama Man was able to shrink himself down. This sounds like a kid telling a story. One time, they got into Milkman's body, but Pajama Man was able to shrink himself down and go inside and kicked him out. It sounds like a kid telling a story.
Hey, there's a sponge. You sure look squishy.
That's because I'm a sponge.
That's what I thought.
You're a bright boy.
I'm Pajama Sam.
Oh, his eyes were in two places at once for a second.
I know.
Gosh, you're smart.
I don't like the sponge.
I don't think that I can scoop that up with the net.
Okay, I guess I need to combine the net with something. I'll come back, I guess. If you use one of those cheap mechanical pencils which dispense lead when you press the top, you can control how far out the lead goes. Start out by keeping it short and then making it longer as you go along, which helps because the leads are fragile as hell. It teaches you to press much lighter. Yeah, but most of my work is digital. So, yes and no? I just need to, I need to adjust the,
That hill is steep. I'm going to need to find a different way to get up there.
Oh, I understand
Gee,
now.
Someone forgot to eat the last of their cereal.
I understand. the puzzle now.
Whoa!
You'd have to practice on paper
Hey.
first. Yeah. I don't have a lot of time to, like, practice on paper. Because a lot of the time when I'm drawing, I'm working on something. So maybe it's a good idea. It's definitely a good idea. I just don't know if it will work for me. That's all.
Another card!
Another card! Admirable Admiral Peanut Butter. Oh my god. Admiral Peanut Butter is a jewel thief who enjoys swiping things with his sticky fingers. He has the power to stick to the roof of other people's mouths. He's often seen in cahoots with royal jelly. Admiral Peanut Butter has the superpower to be creamy and chunky at the same time. What? Oh, okay. Cool. What's happening? Why does this feel like a fever dream of a Pajama Sam game? Hello?
Wow! Cool! Is that your crane?
Well, I get to drive it, but they won't let me take it home at night.
Aw.
Yeah, the boss has a policy about not letting us borrow anything that can be used to knock down his house.
What's this crane used for?
Well, it's supposed to be used for clearing that junk over there. But one of the control levers got busted and lost. I can move the crane this way and this way. But without the other lever, I can't pick up that stuff, and it's just piling up.
I'll keep my eyes peeled for something we can use as a lever.
Thanks a
Okay.
bunch. The sooner I get the crane fixed, the sooner I can go on my coffee break.
This is the most reading a script Pajama Sam has ever sounded like. You know? Like, you have iconic lines as I had this sister, my sister's cousin's best friend, and he was made of wood, and he went in the water and he sunk. Wow, really? Oh, hello. And things like, my name's Mud. Really? No.
Hello, I'm Sam.
Why did you say it was?
Why, what a nice
Well,
young
I'm just
man
real
you
depressed
are.
is all.
I'm Grandma Sweater. I'm almost through with this copy of Knitting Weekly if you want to borrow it.
No, thank you. I don't knit.
You don't knit? Oh, that's a shame. In the good old days, everyone liked to knit.
I wish I could knit, because I sure could use a shirt.
Well, since I love to knit, I'd be glad to knit a shirt just for you if you bring me some yarn.
I sure could use a shirt. Thanks a bunch.
Any sort of yarn will do.
Okay.
There's a trading card.
The Earthquaker! Go ahead. Are you an orange? Cool. The Earthquaker first appeared in issue 223. Don't Rain on My Parade. He makes earthquakes. Really? Even though earthquakes aren't really a kind of weather. They let him join the foul weathermen because he's as mean as thunder and lightning. Earthquaker is the most old-fashioned villain of the bunch, so it's usually easy for Pajama Man to catch him with his modern crime-fighting skills. His favorite food is oatmeal. These cards sound like a first draft. Oh, fireflies. Wait, can I catch them in my jar?
Man trading card.
Have a jar. Captain Gelatin! Captain Gelatin is a founding member of the Lunchboxers. He may wiggle and jiggle, but the bad guys don't laugh when their sticks and stones bounce right off of him. He gains his strength from his internal marshmallows. Favorite color, red, although that's not his natural color. He's artificially colored.
It wouldn't be nice to put the fireflies in my jar until I make some holes in the lid. They need holes so they can breathe.
Oh.
There are so many peanuts in that bag. I bet nobody would notice if one was missing.
If time constraints stopped them from even making puzzles in a point-and-click puzzle game, it wouldn't surprise me if they were first drafts. Yeah.
Misunderstood.
My question is, how short of a time did they have? It's one on a whirlwind ride. How did I get here? Okay. Does anyone know how I got there? Please tell. Okay. Oh, I have to watch him throw them all again?
Whoa!
Sam is less than 3 raisins heavy. I went this way. And then I went this way. And somehow I ended up at the bottom of the mountain and bounced back up to here. What? What?
Hey, look! Another trading card.
Okay. The Illuminator Mark V! The Illuminator Mark V emits a brilliant beam of energy to zap bad guys, especially those who cower in the shadows. It's the flashiest weapon around, with unlimited range and stylish chrome trim. Time and space are nothing to Pajama Sam. With unlimited, and stylish chrome trim. The Illuminator is powered by a special super batteries, size PJ. Pajama Man carries it with him everywhere, except when he doesn't need it. Fun fact, an earlier model, the Illuminator Mark IV, had to be replaced when it was eaten by the sofa cushion monster. Cool. Right. Okay then. Have we seen all of the areas? I haven't figured out where to get shoes or socks.
Oh, consarn it. Blasted dust bunnies won't hold still long enough for me to catch them.
There seems to be a middle path through the woods. Oh, okay, I'll look.
Here, bunny, bunny, bunny. Those bunnies are too timid to come near me.
What if I catch them with a net?
Well, I guess that's not going to work.
Okay, they animated it though. Peanut? Do you want a peanut?
Little bunny. I guess they don't want to come over here.
Okay, they have some animations for that. At the crossroads where you can go to the mountain. Oh, there is like a path here. Okay, cool.
There's an ice cube over there. It hasn't melted yet.
There's an ice cube over there. Can I reach it?
I don't think that I can scoop that up with the net. What a weird swamp. It looks like someone spilled their soda pop here. Maybe I can wade across. Ew! It's all gooey and gucky. This spilled soda pop is a real mess. It's too yucky for me to wade through.
Okay.
I need to open this peanut somehow.
I need to open this peanut somehow.
Aha!
The evil underwear! The evil underwear is tight and binding and crawls up behind people in an effort to snare them with its elastic grip. Witnesses to its crimes have trouble identifying it because evil underwear is always changing itself. These illegal briefs first appeared in issue 413, Look Out Behind, and then in issue 571, Sit on It. Okay. Is there anything else I can do over here?
Ooh, a Pajama Man trading card.
Clementine! Clementine is Milkman's favorite cow. She was abducted by aliens in issue 5, The Cow Flew Over the Moon. When she returned to Earth, her milk had strange powers, much to Milkman's surprise. Super cow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure... I brought a friend to see you.
Hi.
It's you! I thought I'd never see you again. I miss you plenty.
How I wish I could be up there in the drawer with you, but I can't. I'm still all dirty.
Sam, could you please take care of my friend until we can be reunited?
Yeah.
Sure. Don't worry. We'll get you clean somehow. And then you can be with your friend again. Hey, look!
I feel
Another
so
trading
bad
card.
for the programmers and artists of this game. Like, I feel so bad for everyone involved in this game. The writers, the artists, the programmers, the voice actors. I'm sure they could do a better job than this. Darkness! Darkness is one scary dude. He can creep up on you at night. He's real sneaky and likes to hide in the shadows. Pajama Man has used his trusty Illuminator Mark V to defeat Darkness many times. Most notably in issue 15, The Thing Under the Bed. And issue 791, The Deep Dark Secret at the Center of Center of Darkness. He likes dark chocolate. The sock only wants to be friends with the other sock. No, the sock wants to be friends anyways. But they can't be in the drawer if they're dirty. Because that's how laundry works.
Aha!
Portable bad guy containment unit. Looks like a lunchbox, but it's actually a clever disguise for Pajama Man's portable bad guy containment unit. As its name suggests, this is an inescapable portable jail that Pajama Man uses for locking up bad guys. It works best on the ones who are pretty small, but Pajama Man's strong enough that he can cram any bad guy in there if he wants to. Fun fact, the portable bad guy containment unit contains a removable thermos with an unlimited supply of orange juice. What? Is there anything else I can do here? Ew. Ew! Ew! That pizza molded into sludge. That is oddly specific.
Oh, consarn it.
Can I not watch this cutscene again?
Blasted dust bunnies won't hold still long enough for me to catch them.
Oh, can I go? Oh, I can go this way. Okay. Hello. Oh, okay.
Hello, I'm Sam.
I'm very pleased to meet you. I am Nutcracker. I crack any and all nuts easily and efficiently.
My, but you have big shiny teeth.
Everyone in my family has such big teeth, even a little babushkas.
There's a trading card.
Busy Poppins. Busy Poppins is the carbonated villain who incapacitates people by giving them gas. And not the good kind of gas. What's the good kind of gas? She has the power to destroy teeth and spoil dinners, and then when she gets all shook up, her force is immeasurable. Fun fact, Busy Poppins could eat through steel. I can print these. There's a button to print these. Okay. Can you crack this nut for me? Can you crack this nut for me?
Hey there, Mr. Nutcracker. My name is Sam, and I have a nut that needs opening.
Yes, comrade.
It needs
I can open any
opening.
nut. I have opened the nuts for all crowned heads of Europe.
Here it is.
Thank you much. Peanut is delicious. Here is leftover shell.
I'd put it in my scrapbook if I had one, but I don't. So I'll just keep it in my pocket.
What? I keep it in my scrapbook if I had one, but I don't. I just put it in my pocket.
Hi, my name's Sam.
Hi, Sam. I'm Balsa.
Did you hurt your wing?
Yeah, I banged it up a while ago. It can't be fixed.
Does that mean you can't fly anymore?
Actually, I never could fly.
Why not?
Because I only cost 39 cents.
Okay.
Hello. Do you know you've got plants all over you?
Yes, I'm a beanbag doll. I'm full of beans. It's too bad that someone spilled water on me.
Ew.
Hi. I used to be a balloon. Before I popped. Do you have any balloon glue?
I'm sorry. I've never heard of balloon glue.
Oh. Do you have any balloon glue?
Hi. What kind of toy are you?
I'm a Bake Master 5000.
Hey, my Aunt Beth got me a Bake Master 5000 once. I tried to cook a toasted cheese sandwich in it. I left it in there for days, and it never did cook.
Okay.
Wow,
oh, it's dark in here.
Dark in here.
Oh, okay. That's what I need the fireflies for. Okay. I got this half a nutshell. Maybe I can use it to get across the river. Magic pencil tool? I don't know what that means. Can I use this peanut shell to get across here?
Preparing to launch Peanut Boat. This is Pajama Sam,
Boat.
captain of the SS Peanut,
Peanut.
ready to sail.
Peanut.
That looks like a big slingshot.
It is a big slingshot. Now what?
Another card.
Cardboard woman. Cardboard woman is is the most two-dimensional villain Pajama Man ever fought. She was in issue 338, Do Not Fold, Spindle, or Mutilate. Then returned in issue 609, Scratch and Sniff and Explode. Nobody knows how or why Cardboard Woman came to be. Her best friend is a piece of bubble wrap. Her favorite snack is stale graham crackers. What are you doing? What? Okay. Oh, shoes!
Hey, this tree is full of shoes. I guess it's a shoe tree. I wonder if they stay up there all the time.
Tree?
Ooh, a Pajama Man.
Am I missing a shoe tree joke? You know those filters which turn an image fully black and makes the borders between different colors neon versions of the color? Oh, okay. Yeah. The serious bowler is a constant thorn in Pajama Man's side. He likes bowling. Okay? He only likes bowling. Okay? He wants to remake the world so that everything involves bowling and nobody will ever be allowed to stop bowling. Most people would agree that a little bowling is fun, but this guy just goes too far. Fun fact, the serious bowler can eat his own weight in pretzels.
Hello? Shoes?
Jack is ignoring my jokes. Is this a shadow van?
Hello?
No, I got it.
The guard said I needed shoes. Wish I could think of some way to get them down.
What about this net?
I don't think this net is long enough.
They made Sam shorter just for that. Cause this tree, right? This tree is closer to the camera. And Sam looks like he could reach that tree from where he's standing. So if he came forward, he would be bigger. But they shrank him down so he couldn't reach. Okay.
That's the biggest shoehorn I've ever seen. I bet it's really, really loud.
A shoehorn?
It's all clogged up. Ew, it's full of mold. No wonder it tastes funny.
Ew!
I don't think that I can scoop that up with the net.
Ew. Oh. God. Ew. Chess set. Okay, hello.
Hello? My name's Sam. What do you do?
I am a bishop. Darn hat.
What kind of hat is that?
They call it a mitre. I call it a nuisance. Once it fell off and poked me in the toe.
You don't have toes.
Aha!
Royal Jelly. She's purple. She's a grape. She's the queen of the jelly scene. Royal Jelly is a distant cousin of Captain Gelatin, but she's not a solid citizen like him. In fact, she's runny and oozy and a wanted criminal. Once, she took over an entire movie theater. Okay.
Hello, little guy. I'm Sam.
I'm a pawn.
Are pawns important in chess?
We must be. We're the ones the other players capture first.
Hello. What do you do?
I'm a pawn.
What does a pawn do?
Mostly, I just wait to get captured.
Okay.
Nice horsey.
Okay.
Hello there.
It's no use trying to talk to a rook. It's like talking to a brick wall.
Okay.
Hello. My name is Sam.
Just Sam?
I'm Pajama Sam.
Members of the royal family do not associate with normal people like you.
Her Royal Highness the Queen only talks to fellow royalty. And then only with an engraved invitation.
What does that mean?
It means you won't be talking to her.
Oh.
Okay, why would I want to?
Does this belong to you?
Ah! Why, how did that get there? I say, thank thee, young man. Thanks a lot.
But I need that.
I can't get over how pointy and sharp your hat is.
True. I now have all the time in the world to use it, shouldst thou ever needest holes poked in anything.
Okay. I thought I was gonna use the hook to get the sheep.
Holes in my jar lid now?
Certainly.
Ow!
How was I supposed to figure that out?
I better stop now.
That's plenty of holes. Thank you, Mr. Bishop.
How was it?
Hi there. Is that a real crown?
Well,
the king is too busy to speak with you.
Yes, dear.
Right, okay. Can I have your hook?
Thank you again for punching those holes.
Please, not so loud. I have a headache for some reason.
Okay. Well, we can go get those fireflies now. I can't with this game. He said his hat was sharp, but didn't mention anything about punching holes in things.
Whoa!
Set the shoehorn on fire to clear out the mold. Okay, can I have these fireflies now?
It's firefly catching time.
Oh, that was easy.
Like they're okay in there. Having a bee in your bonnet is bad, but having fireflies in your pocket is nice.
Having a bee in your bonnet is bad, but having fireflies in your pocket is nice. What? What? Who directed this voice acting? Because something happened. Like, what? I don't understand. Okay, Ham, see you soon. Cool. I don't. Close my curtains. Like, this game has to be a fever dream, right? It's the only explanation. Are we all just having a collective fever dream right now? I think we might. We might be. Okay, I got the fireflies. Now I can go in here.
That's not something.
Oh my god. No, wait, it's... Where? Where was the dark place?
Dag nabbit.
Please stop making me watch this cutscene again.
Blasted dust bunnies won't hold still.
I know! I know your stupid dust bunnies won't hold still.
I can't see a thing. I need something that will light up this place.
You mean like fireflies?
Look, I've got a shadow. These fireflies are the brightest bugs I've ever seen.
We've got like...
I think they like the gum. My fireflies want to flee. Fireflies, be free!
Okay, I see.
I'll just leave this here for the fireflies to use as a home.
Okay.
Look at that sucker! Wow, that is some sticky gum. Another card!
Dr. Scott Brovers. Scott Brovers is not just a scientist, he's a super scientist. Dr. Brovers is the head of SHMO, the Superhero Health Maintenance Organization. And it's his job to care for any superheroes who are sick. And since they don't get sick much, he spends most of his time doing research. He's so smart that he's discovered cures for dozens of diseases that don't even exist yet. Fun fact, Dr. Brovers can do 2 crossword puzzles at the same time. Or 4 if he uses his feet. Okay. Is that literally all I can do here?
I don't think that I can scoop that up with the net. The fireflies might want that for a house. I'd better leave it here.
Who is this voice actress? Alicia Ferguson? She's done 2 games, both in 2003. Except that one of them is Backyard Baseball 2005. Literally all... Literally all that's known about her is... those 2 games. Backyard Baseball 2005, made in 2003. Also, there's a behind the voice actors webpage, but it's got a picture of Matt Mercer. For some reason. Oh, okay, it's just like a trending this week image. Okay. I have to know how she sounds in Backyard Baseball 2005. Like, I have to know. But I can't find it. Alright, whatever. like, this literally all she did was 2 games in 2003. But what I want to know is if this is her Pajama Sam impression. Or if she just sounds like that. Sorry. Can I... What? So, I need to wash the socks. To get the socks, maybe? What? So... Huh? I think I found all of the areas. I can do something with this. Have I gone that way? Yeah, that's... Why can't he climb trees? I want his hook!
I can't get over how pointy and sharp.
Okay. I clearly need to do something. Oh, I need the sponge to clean the shoehorn. But how do I get the sponge? Because it said I couldn't reach with the net.
Oh, concern.
Stop. Stop talking. I don't want to hear you every time I come through here. Wait, what? What is happening? Do I need to look up a tutorial because I can't figure out this stupid game? What's this?
That looks like a water funny putty. You can do all kinds of stuff with that.
Okay. Funny putty.
Oops. Sorry, Mr. Nutcracker.
Aye, thank you. It was hard to breathe under such goop.
Hey! Look! It made a copy of your face. I guess Funny Putty really can copy a picture of anything.
So can a box of crayons in hands of an artist.
Yeah, but crayons don't stretch.
Point taken.
What?
I guess
No.
Funny Putty truly is toy with 1,000 uses.
What? Okay, wait, what if I take this and go, like, use it to talk to the king and queen? Can I do that? Like, if I go across here... Oh, a card.
There's a trading card.
Lightning! Lightning is a big meanie who tries to scare people by making bad weather. Unfortunately, Pajama Man has learned not to fear lightning. Fun fact, lightning doesn't wear clothes because they'd get static cling. Hey! Non-binary! Non-binary in a 2003 game. Let's go! Non-binary representation! So if I do this... That not do anything? Okay, it literally does nothing.
I don't think that's a good place to use Funny Putty. I don't think that's a good place to use Funny Putty. I don't think that's a good
Jesus
place
was carrying
to
his
use Funny
crucifix to his execution ground. Someone supposedly wiped his face with a towel. And his sweat left a perfect imprint of his face of white. Can I, like, combine these things?
I don't think that's a good place to use. I don't think that's a good place to use. I don't think that's a good.
I don't think that's a good place to use Funny Putty. I think you're stupid.
What the heck?
What if I use it on? What if I use it on the tree?
I don't think that's a good.
What
place
about
to use.
this?
I don't think that's a good place to use.
I
Funny
can climb up on this, but why?
I don't think that I can scoop that up with the net. That's not going to do me any good.
Are you sure about that? What am I supposed to do now that I'm up here? What? What is happening? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm gonna look it up. Hang on. We're gonna get a walkthrough because this is stupid. I'm gonna pull up a walkthrough. I'm gonna try not to use it as much as I can, but I'm like clearly missing a bunch of stuff. So I don't know what's about that. I don't know what's with that. I don't know. Okay. Let me. Let's figure this out. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. I am missing stuff. So apparently... Where is it? There's like a yo-yo somewhere? I know I've seen it. I can't remember where I've seen it. God damn it. Stop! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up. Do not talk to me. That's the dark place. The yo-yo string. I know I saw a yo-yo string. Is it up here? Those dust bunnies won't stay still long enough for him to catch them, but I don't think he's mentioned that before.
Hey, there's a yo-yo. I could use a new yo-yo. I think it's sort of stuck. Maybe I can yank it free. Oops. Well, at least I got half a yo-yo. Too bad it's not the half that spins. Oh well.
It wouldn't spin without the string.
It could come in handy at any time. I never know when I might be faced with a string emergency.
Why does he talk so much? He talks a lot. Like, more than the other games. Actually, nerd time, there's a ball bearing and yo-yos. I have a few, and I have to take them apart and grease them every now and then. Oh, really? I don't think my cheap ones, I think I've only ever had like a cheap one. I don't think they've ever had ball bearings in them. Because they wouldn't spin on their own. Okay, now we do this. And we go here.
Oh, cons.
Yep. And then he does this again. And he has to turn to me to talk, but I'm not gonna let him. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna use it to get the dust bunny. Yoink.
Yee-haw! At last a new bunny, partner.
Much obliged, Sam. And looky here. All the other bunnies are following.
Wow, I must have lasted the main bunny.
Yep, you done did good. Now let's get these bunnies ready for shaving.
Okay. I get the string back? They look so silly without their fluff. Also, have you ever seen people actually, like, shave sheep? Because it's really funny. They have to, like, wrestle them.
It's still fuzzy.
Well, that's Dust Bunny yarn for you. Thought you might like some yarn for helping me out with the bunnies.
I don't like the way you said bunnies.
That's part of the yarn making machine. The farmer needs that.
But I want it. Yeah, they have to, like, wrestle him. Hey, hot dog soup, thank you for the follow. Okay. Now I can go... No, that's the mall. I need to go back up the mountain to the granny sweater. The sweater granny. So that she'll make me a shirt. And I can't skip cutscenes in this game. The old games, they would let me skip cutscenes. This one? Nope. Nope. No skipping cutscenes for me. I guess this gives me a chance to have a little snack.
Whoa!
Alright, sweater granny time. Hello. I need a sweater, I guess.
Those clothes you made are, very creatively shaped.
Why, thank you. I'm glad you like them. They're the best ones I've made yet. Some of the others came out a little weird. That's because I don't have a pattern I can use to make them.
What do you mean, a pattern?
It helps to have something that shows the size and shape of someone if I'm to make clothes that fit that person.
That makes sense. Here's some yarn. It's bunny yarn.
Oh, that's the best kind. It's soft and silky and it knits real fast. I'll knit a shirt just for you. Try it on.
How?
I guess I should have left at least one neck hole. Oh dear, this can't possibly fit you.
But still, it's a very nice, shirt.
I'm so sorry, young man. If only I had a pattern to work from, I know I could make you a fine shirt.
I'll get you a pattern to work from. Does it have to be any particular kind of pattern?
No, it has to show your specific size and shape.
Okay.
Of course.
So, can I do this?
This funny putty really stretches. Let's see if I can stretch it to be as tall as me. Wow! Now my funny putty looks like me.
Okay.
I think I found a pattern. Will this do?
That's quite a pattern you've got there. It's every bit as handsome as you.
Aw, gee, thanks.
Does it have to be a specific pattern? No, it has to be a specific pattern of your size and shape.
Coming right up.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
It looks just great.
Thanks for the compliment. I like your looks too.
Oh, it likes you.
You're a perfect fit for me, and vice versa.
Gosh, thanks a bunch, Grandma.
You're welcome, young man.
You look pretty comfy in your jammies right now, Sam. Why don't you just hold on to me for later?
Sounds good.
Okay. Sorry, my phone's not charging. There we go. Okay. Hi, Black. Right. Okay. We have a shirt. Ah, what? No. Okay. So I still have this yo-yo string. Maybe I need it for something else. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Wait, can I do it for him? Hang on. Can I use it for this?
Now that's just silly.
Okay. Well, that wasn't my first thought anyways. My first thought was the slingshot with the tree. I wonder if I can lasso the tree. Oh yeah, he hasn't talked since you guys have been here. Yeah, No, it's not. No, it's not. Wait, what if I do this? No?
Here goes.
Oh, okay. It did work.
Yippee!
This voice actress for Sam? Oh, I get my string back. And I just ended up here. What was the point? I could get here without the string. What was the point? What? What was the point of that? Okay. I feel like I need... Maybe if I talk to the sponge, he'll give me a hint on how to get him. If I go this way, do I have to do this too? Oh, okay, I don't.
I know where there's a big bunch of mold just for you.
Oh boy, mold! Come and get me, Sam!
Hello?
Hello.
Bonjour, petite pajama person. I am Jacques Scuba, the famous underwater explorer.
Aren't you getting soggy in there?
This waterproof suit and me big helmet are keeping me high and dry. I am dry as a bone.
Can you dive all the way to the bottom of the fish tank?
There are not many other places I can go, dressed like this. But in the fish tank, I am the well-dressed man about town.
That makes sense. In a way.
Exploring the underwater kingdom is my passion. I am married to the sea.
I have no idea what you mean by that. But I think your big helmet's cool.
Oui, it is the latest fashion in diver helmets.
There's so much talking in this game.
Nice as well.
There is so much tell don't show.
Do you know Sponge?
Oui. Sometimes the sponge will clean the mold off of the glass on my helmet. The sponge loves the mold. That is good, because I do not like the mold.
Do you think you could bring Sponge to me? I know a certain place where there's plenty of mold for it.
Oui, it would be my pleasure.
Oh boy! Mold?
Meanwhile, a child sleeping.
Here is the sponge.
Thanks a bunch, Mr. Scubo.
You're welcome. I am here whenever you want to hear of the beauty of the incredibly awe-inspiring underwater kingdom.
Also, why the fuck is there mold in your aquarium? I don't know. I think they mean algae. But in this case, he needs to eat mold because I need him to eat the mold off the shoehorn, which is not a shoehorn, it's an actual horn that I think probably attracts shoes. But it's not a shoehorn because that's not what that means.
Whoa!
So yeah. I went to the wrong place. I went to the wrong place. That's my fault. That's my bad. Like, they took the time to animate the shirt popping up and down. I guess that's the animator's job. But like, the animators clearly had time for details, but then they didn't have time for like major things. I don't know. Like lip syncing? He looks like a Pez dispenser. Okay, so I need the sponge to eat the mold.
Oh boy, I smell mold. Mold. Where's the mold? There's mold in that shoehorn.
The lip syncing is completely off.
Delicious.
Also, he is not eating that mold.
Wow! Did you eat all that mold?
All of it! Mold's all gone! Mold all gone! Yeah. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. I think I better go lie down now.
I wish they'd stop saying mold.
I'm glad the sponge liked the taste of mold, because I sure don't.
Okay.
I can see my reflection. I
Blow
guess
the
it's
shoehorn.
clean enough now.
Blow the shoehorn. Okay. What did that do?
I'm glad this net has a long handle. They like me. I think I'll keep them. The mall guard will want to see these.
Okay, now the socks. For the socks, I need a lever. Oh yeah, there's an ice cube here. Yeah, no, this is not the right voice for Sam. Okay, now I have an ice cube. Can I do this again? I guess it's just a shortcut, because maybe I can use the ice... Not to be overly picky, but that net animation was really sad. Was there an animation? Was there a net animation? There was not. Like, it's weirdly animated. Like, there's some things that are animated well, and there's some things that are just not. Why is this nutcracker blurry? Why are these guys perfectly sharp? What is happening? Okay, what if I use this ice cube on this lollipop?
Sometimes
you can tell, yeah.
cold gum is less sticky.
Thanks, Atari, you ruined Pajama Sam.
That did it all right.
Thanks, Atari, you ruined Pajama Sam.
I got the sucker. Yay!
What? Okay, so I got this lollipop now. I think I can use the lollipop maybe for the crane operator. Up here. So we gotta watch this cutscene again. Hydrate.
Whoa!
Okay. Here you go.
This sucker is about the same size as the other lever. Try that sucker now.
Nope, it was there. The reason he kept calling it a sucker was
Cool.
specifically
It
for
seems to
that
work
joke.
and stuff. Thanks a bunch for fixing it.
You're welcome.
And you fixed it just in time for my coffee break. How'd you like to keep an eye on the crane for a few minutes?
Like to? I'd love to.
Well, in you go.
Okay, I'm gonna trust this child with a crane.
Okay, gotta make the trash go away.
Okay. Let me just trust this child with a crane while I go take a coffee break.
Make 3 of the same kind of junk in a row, and they will disappear.
Where's the...
Click on 2 pieces of junk that are next to each bonus. Click on the wild card.
A wild card? That didn't do anything. That wasn't a wild card. It was just a random piece of trash.
Make 3 of the same kind of
yeah,
junk
I
in a row,
know.
and
I'm bad at these kinds of games. Bonus? This is an entirely unnecessary minigame.
Yay, I did it!
Okay, there we go. Wow, now what? Can I use this to wash the sock?
Hey, look! I found you the biggest washing machine you ever saw!
Wow, that is big. And wet. And soapy. Geronimo!
I'm entirely unnecessary too. Why y'all gotta be such haters?
That felt good.
You know, that's fair.
It was fun to watch, too.
I haven't been this clean since, well, I don't know when.
I'll try not to get you dirty before I get you back with your friend.
Okay. So I can get him back with the other sock. Who's in the dresser, but not this dresser? Why? Why are there multiple dressers? No child has multiple dressers. We're supposed to be in Sam's room again. Look, here's your friend.
Hello, my matching sock. I'm home.
I'm so glad you're here. Are you clean
You have multiple
enough to come
dressers?
in?
Clean as a whistle.
Hooray!
Sam, thanks a million for cleaning me.
And thanks 2 million for bringing my best friend back. Sam, you're a great friend.
Yes, Sam, you're a great friend.
Thanks. Would you 2 like to go exploring with me?
Well, okay, as long as we don't have to do any walking.
And I haven't been out of that drawer in ages.
Then hop into my pocket and we'll be off.
Okay.
I'll bet that mall guard will be happy to see you.
You can count on us for help if you ever need a clean pair of socks.
Alright, cool. Now I can get to the mall to find my comic book. I have stuff.
Look, everyone wants to get in the mall today. I have to enforce the rules, or it would be pandemonium. This is an orderly mall, even on a crowded day like today. Huge crowd expected today.
Why is the mall so crowded today?
Something about some Dr. Grime guy signing something. Local kids want to see him. Why?
Dr.
I wouldn't know.
Grime?
I'm just a guard.
Oh.
I'm a good guard.
Okay, I have a shirt.
Not so fast. Hold it right there, Buster.
Yes?
I want to see your shirt.
Hello.
And shoes. And you
Okay.
better have socks, too.
Hello, officer.
Howdy, officer.
Shirt, shoes, socks. Well, kid, it looks like you're in total compliance with our dress code. You're a good citizen. Enjoy your shopping experience.
Yes, sir.
What? I didn't even have to wear them. Just have to take them with me.
Are we there yet?
We're here! Inside the Grubby Corners Mall!
Hooray!
It's shopping time.
I can shop for a lint brush.
Thanks for the lift, Sam. We're off to shop.
See you later.
Bye!
Yeah. But they had to include the socks for some reason.
Hey, look! Another trading card.
Is this like part 2 of the game? This is the longest game ever for Pajama Sam. I don't give a fuck about socks. Don't want kids wearing shoes with no socks. That's just gross. Yeah, that's not how that works in real life. You can wear sandals without socks. You can wear sandals without socks. Milkman was once an ordinary dairy farmer until he drank some weird milk from his cow Clementine and gained magical milk powers. Pajama Man fought the tiny evildoers inside Milkman's body in issue 619. The Milkman always burps twice. Milkman also appeared in issue 217, The London Dairy Airhead. Fun fact, Milkman likes coconut milk. These cards are definitely a first draft. Nobody said anything about pants.
Ooh, a Pajama Man trading card.
I guess that one's just assumed, I don't know. The Pajama Mobile. Criminals cower when they see the Pajama Mobile on the horizon, because they know Pajama Man is behind the wheel of this souped up super coupe. Oh my god. Super souped up super coupe. This car seat 6 contains a vast array of gadgets such as the incredible crime detector. And best of all, it matches Pajama Man's outfit. Pajama Man first drove the Pajama Mobile in issue 15, The Race to the Great Bake Off. And it got banged up in issue 467, The Disintegration Derby. Fun fact, the Pajama Mobile's windows are made of special glass that cannot be broken, only bent. Hello.
Welcome to Leavings and Squeezings, the fabulous house of pizza. Do you want to see a menu?
No, thanks. I'm just browsing.
The deep-fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches are fit for a king. Why don't you try one?
Okay. Super soup.
Excuse me. Do you mind if I cut in ahead of you?
No way. I've been waiting all day to see Dr. Grime, and I ain't giving up my place.
Is that a bloody tissue?
Why do you want to see Dr. Grime?
'Cause, you know, he's Dr. Grime. He's the grimiest.
Oh.
I like this straw guy. He's funny.
Hey, look. Another trading card.
Hero Sandwich. Hero Sandwich is the leader of the Lunchboxers, an informal association of food-related superheroes. He spends much of his time as Lunchboxers' headquarters doing experiments in this secret refrigerated crime lab. Hero Sandwich first appeared in issue 71. That's not my baloney. Secret weakness, Hero Sandwich is weakened by cheap yellow mustard.
Hang on, bub. You need a special prize winner pass if you want to skip waiting in line.
Where can I get one?
Try the local Greasy Spoon, kid.
Greasy Spoon?
The Chow House, the feed bag, the diner, the place where the food is.
Oh, you mean I can get a special prize winner pass at the local restaurant?
You catch on quick.
No, we're talking shit about mustard. Interesting thing about this game, from what I can see, is there seems to still be love in it, but it It's just a seeming lack of execution and lack of budget. Yeah. Okay. So I can get something...
Congratulations,
like
sir.
my friend
You're our
Kiki?
lucky 30th customer.
Yay! What do I win?
He does not sound like my friend
You win this
Kiki, if that's who you're talking
fantastical
about.
special prize winner pass.
Oh boy!
Boy!
I did nothing!
It is a great honor to win this prize. It is printed on durable paper and is sure to bring you hours of fun for years to come. Enjoy your special prize winner pass.
That was easy. I just had to walk in. Okay. Cool.
I don't think that's going to work.
Can I show it to her?
Well, why didn't you say you had a special prize winner pass? You're special, and you're a prize winner, so you can pass. Please go to the head of the line immediately.
Okay.
Hey, look! It's Dr. Grime! Huh? What? Where? Look, it's Dr. Grime!
Dr. Grime, will you shine my hanky? Will you shine my underwear?
I'm not Dr. Grime! I'm Pajama Sam!
Hey, keep that line straight.
Dr. Grime! Dr. Grime!
Oh, it's not a bloody tissue, it's a can.
I'm not Dr. Grime!
Hey, no touching!
Dr. Grime! Yikes! There
Okay.
it is! Issue number 1, I found you at last!
I also thought it was a bloody tissue. Okay, not just me.
Holy cow! How did I get so dirty today? I'm as dirty as Dr. Grime! Maybe dirtier! No wonder those kids thought I was him.
Okay.
I need to clean myself up. I can't get past those kids while I look like Dr. Grime. Also, I don't want to handle my comic book while I'm all dirty, or it'll get all dirty. I wonder if there's anything I can wash with here. This room doesn't have a sink. It looks like the only way I could get some water is from that fire sprinkler up there. I bet if I could get that sprinkler to turn on, it would wash me right off.
Okay.
This should keep Pajama Man number 1 from getting wet.
Yeah. Why couldn't I have found...
Maybe if I move the dresser over, I can climb on that to reach the sprinkler.
I told you there was gonna be fire.
Rats! It's too heavy to move. I guess that won't work.
Okay.
That vent up there is right next to the sprinkler.
Yes. And... oh, I don't have any of my stuff. Okay.
I can't move the sofa unless I push the coffee table back in.
Oh, no. Okay. There's a vent.
Who's there?
I'm your friendly local Evens and Squeezins delivery person. Does Dr. Grime want anything?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay, I'll just leave this menu in case you change your mind.
Okay.
This isn't a very fancy menu. I can only order 4 different things. Cold string beans? Frozen eggs? Iced bacon?
Frozen eggs?
Or hot cocoa?
Okay.
I'm hungry right now.
Oh, we're just leaving that on the floor. Okay.
Hey! Where does that go?
I guess, would be that vent up there.
It looks like I can just barely squeeze in there. This is a tight squeeze. I'm a round boy in a square duct. I better suck in my tummy.
I'm a round boy in a square duct. Girl, no!
I'm right next to the sprinkler now.
Okay. And?
I'm right next to the sprinkler now. My hands are too dirty to touch my comic book. I need to get clean first.
Is there a reason to move this bench? No? Why was I able to move the bench if I clicked up here?
I'm not hungry right now.
Okay, let me move this couch back. Because hot cocoa?
One humongous hot cocoa, please. Who is it?
Your favorite leavings and squeezings delivery person with your order.
Okay.
Thank you.
Enjoy your fine food with our compliments. You have excellent taste. Have a nice day, sir.
This hot cocoa lives up to its name. It's really hot. In fact, it's too hot to drink right now.
They should have put that dirt patch somewhere else on him. That's all I'll say. What if I do this?
Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be doing this. And I certainly wouldn't advise any of my friends to do this.
Wow, they had to put a disclaimer.
I hope this is hot enough.
It's not.
Yay! I'm clean! Now I can get my comic.
What's this? Water is falling from the sky.
Uh-oh.
So good to be clean.
Hey, no splashing.
You're not Dr. Grime. Who are you? I am the squeaky clean hero, Pajama Sam. Today, I came dangerously close to turning dirty. But from today on, I shall fight the forces of dirt and strive for cleanliness in all that I do.
Kid, you're a good citizen.
Well, I learned one thing. From now on, I'm going to keep my room more picked up so I won't lose anything else this important. And if I do, it will sure be easier to find it. I'm going to be just like Pajama Man and keep the forces of grime at bay.
Hey, is that a rare Pajama Man issue #1?
Yes, indeed. It is the very rare Pajama Man issue #1 in mint condition in its plastic bag. Today I was going to take it to get it autographed by Pajama Man himself and... Oh my gosh! I almost forgot about that. I gotta hurry and meet him before he's gone.
Yeah, the lack of mouth flaps is weird. That's a cute picture. That's cute. It's like it's not like they were perfect before, they just had a system that worked well. Yeah. Okay. I think we all need a we all need some A breath of fresh air, I shall say. So let's grab another Pajama Sam. I think I've played 1 and 3 a lot recently, so we'll play 2. All right.
Hold it right there, Earthquaker. Stop that evil doing.
Your low-calorie threats mean nothing to me. Take that, Captain Skeleton.
Hang on.
Shaking. Ha! You and your lunchboxes are no match
There
for
we go.
the foul weatherman. Now, we shall take the cosmic eraser, and with it, we shall control the world!
Not so fast, Dust Devil.
Pajama Man!
I don't know why
Spin you
it's
to the four corners
like that.
of the earth,
It's fine.
do-gooder!
My handy-dandy Pajama Man superpower vac says different.
Pajama Man, you
Exactly.
All right.
We might not get through the whole game, but we'll see.
It's okay. It's just a little thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning aren't so frightening. Thunder and lightning aren't so frightening.
Gosh, the quality jump.
Thunder and lightning aren't so frightening, but I'm scared. Someone's got to go upstairs and do something about this weather. This looks like a job for Pajama Sam! I know I left my Pajama Sam cape around here somewhere. I'd better find it.
Oh my god, the lip syncing. Yeah, stock lightning sound.
Nothing behind the curtain.
It's so much better. And this is the second game.
Aha!
I found it. I read,
Sam is ready for action.
I read a
Now
little
can
thing
go
around the
upstairs and
beginning of the
take care
game
all this thunder and lightning.
that basically
I
said
better get upstairs and do something
that,
about this.
due to time constraints, they were not able to add extra puzzle solutions to Pajama Sam 4. So the game that we played is the game every time. Unlike, you know,
I better get upstairs and do something about this.
So instead of like Pajama Sam, you know, like there are multiple solutions in all of the other 3 games, which is what you expect from a humongous game. It's just the same thing.
Okay,
There was
here
a
I go.
plan in place for another solution for the shirt puzzle, I think.
All right, that's enough.
But it never
Pajama
got
Sam is gonna put a
to
stop
completion,
this
so
thunderstorming once and for all.
yeah. That game suffered a lot from mismanagement.
Wow.
This is a humongous game.
So this is where all the weather comes from. Thunder and lightning must work there.
This is so refreshing after playing that
Watch
game.
out,
Oh my god.
Thunder and lightning. Pajama Sam is coming.
I fully expected people to be overreacting. And now after playing it, I'm like, oh no. They were not. They were not overreacting at all. Excuse me, little guy.
A crowbar. I bet this'll come in handy.
Yeah, that difference is stark. Poor little concrete scraper, smoother guy. Oh, look, I didn't even notice there's like a little PJ here. I'm finding all the little details in one of my favorite games now. I'm just appreciating this game for what it is. Like, oh my god, so much appreciation for this game. The little details.
Worldwide Weather Employee Identification Card. Foster Boondoggle. Do not lose this card. Maybe there's a lost and found somewhere where I can turn this in.
Oh my god, the lip syncing. The lip syncing is incredible.
Welcome to Worldwide Weather, sir.
Thank you.
Right. ID card.
Thank you!
Uh-oh, I think it ate the card. I hope it wasn't too important.
Thunder, there's someone in
Lesbians. It's my favorite pair of lesbians.
Oh, calm down, would you, dear? It's just a little boy.
I'm Pajama Sam.
I'm Pajama Sam.
This thunderstorming business.
Oh, yes. I think we've really outdone ourselves this time. Isn't it wonderful?
Well, actually...
I do enjoy a good storm, and it will be so helpful for the plants and things.
I never... Yeah! No!
Why is there no cover on that button?
Not the red button!
Engaging primary safety mechanism.
Shifting power to backup generators.
This is underdrive and maximum turn.
Adjusting horizontal hold. That should hold it for now.
The little plastic
Damage
cover would have
report.
averted everything, yeah.
Looks like a few pieces have been shaken loose.
Oh my gosh! Look at this weather! Hurricanes in Egypt! Tornadoes in Toledo!
This is going to take
Are you
everything
sure,
we've
menu?
got.
Can I help?
Help! No one can help! We're doomed! Doomed!
Quiet!
As a matter of fact, there is something you can do. Lightning and I have important work to do here, so we need you to help fix the weather machines.
How do I do that?
This is a list of pieces that have come off the machines. We need you to find them and put them back where they belong. Will you do that?
Yep.
Never
Can
fear,
do.
ma'am. Pajama Sam always helps people in need.
Ooh, a puzzle piece.
Hey, a puzzle piece. I should pick those up.
Why do they even have a ruin all the weather button? I don't know.
Hello again, sir.
Hello. Ah, right.
There's one.
Oh, crank.
don't think this belongs here. I'd better hang on to it until I can figure out where it goes. Hi, I'm Pajama Sam. I'm helping...
You have an appointment?
Appointment?
Certainly. You can't see anyone without an appointment.
Oh.
Okay. I can make an appointment.
Hello again, sir. Welcome to the worldwide...
Ah, that's right, it's in here. Speed run! We gotta beat this game in an hour.
Memo to employees.
519.
Hey, is that a donut?
Yes, it's a donut. No, you can't have it.
The quality in
Hello again,
microphone from this game to... Hang on, this game was released... This game was released in 1998. Pajama Sam 4 was released in 2003.
Welcome to the world.
The difference in microphone quality.
I'd like to make an appointment to see someone.
Certainly. Let me check his calendar.
It should have gone up.
Mr. Someone is available immediately. I'll pencil you in. What is your name?
I'm Pajama Sam. I'm
Very
helping...
good, Mr. Sam. Mr. Someone will see you just as soon as you arrive. Goodbye. Do you have an appointment?
Yes, I do. I'm Pajama Sam. I'm helping...
yes, here it is. Go right on in, Mr. Sam. Mr. Someone is ready for you.
Thanks.
Like, there's a 1998 quality to this game, the audio, but the 2003 one sounded muffled. It sounded like muted.
Another one.
I don't know. Nobody in the bathroom. Okay. Ooh, white pipe.
Say, aren't you the Y pipe?
Yes. Why do you ask?
I thought so. I've been looking for you.
You
We've
have?
been looking for you.
Why?
I'm looking for all the important pieces to the weather machines.
Really? Why?
So I can put you all back and fix the machines.
Why would you want to do that?
Because all the weather everywhere is going crazy, and thunder and lightning are in trouble, and it's sort of my fault.
What did you do to cause all of that?
Never mind that now. It's not important. You've got to come with me.
I'd love to, but I can't get out of this vending machine by myself. Think you could help me out?
Pajama Sam never
I need a
abandons
coin.
someone who needs help.
Thanks, that's good to know.
I need a coin for the thing.
Hey, I found one.
I don't know how he got in there. I don't know, it exploded. Everything exploded and he ended up in there.
Ah.
Hi, I'm Pajama Sam.
Who sent you? I'm working very hard. You'd be amazed what a difficult job it is being in charge of all the supplies.
I'm sure it is.
George, someone sent you over here to check up on me, didn't he?
No.
He thought you'd catch me not doing my job so he can get that big promotion, right?
No, nobody sent me over here.
Nobody?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Really?
Well, that's a relief.
Another one!
Yeah, I love this guy. The characterization is so much better.
Employee of the month! Can I have one of these?
Absolutely. Take it.
Thanks. That was too easy.
Well, can you keep a secret?
Sure.
I
love that he
accidentally ordered
punches
1,000 of
staples
those
when
I
he's
was only supposed
nervous.
to get a dozen.
Whoops.
I'm trying to get rid of them before anyone notices. Take a few more.
Thanks, but I think I really only want one.
Oh, all right.
Loud. Hello.
Ah, you must be Pajama Sam.
I love that George Someone
I'm
is
George
a staple
Someone,
remover.
the personnel manager. Glad to see you could get here so quickly.
No problem. Hey, I found one!
Doop.
You look like you're thinking about something.
You're right. I'm trying to figure out what keeps clouds up in the air. Maybe it's a thread.
What do you mean?
The clouds. Maybe they hang them up with thread.
Then what's the thread hanging from?
Good point.
Mr. Someone, I have an idea about the clouds.
Yeah? What's that?
Maybe they can float because they have balloons inside.
Say, you might be onto something there.
There's always a guy pondering something in a Pajama Sam game.
Hereford?
I beg your pardon?
Never mind. We were expecting someone else. Just dust around the picture frames for now. You can vacuum later, when we've finished.
Dust? But I...
Perhaps we should try to come up with more questions for the employee quiz while we wait for Mr. Hereford.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? Who played the monster in the original movie version of Frankenstein?
That's not a very businesslike question, is it?
No, I suppose not.
Excuse me, how come you have a hat in the middle of the table?
Oh, we're putting our questions in it.
Questions?
We're making a quiz to give people when we interview them for jobs.
Say, you look pretty typical. How'd you like to help us test the questions?
What do I have to do?
Just pick questions out of the hat.
Hey, you look
and
pretty
see if you can
typical.
answer them.
Wow,
That sounds
thanks.
easy enough.
Go ahead and choose a question.
If Tom gets 1,200 frequent flyer miles a month, how long before he can get a free trip to Jamaica?
What? The airline probably doesn't even fly to Jamaica.
The airline probably doesn't even fly to Jamaica.
That's absolutely correct.
Good going.
I
Try
love
another
this
one.
game.
Okay. I'm ready to go ahead with the test now.
All right then. Go ahead and choose a question.
What is kept in the first room of the warehouse?
Hail.
Hail.
Yes, hail is right.
Yeah. Because you need the helmet to get in there.
All right, you got it.
Try another one.
Okay.
Go ahead and choose a question.
An area where there is very little water is called what?
A desert.
A desert.
Yes, deserts are very dry places.
I am very smart.
Way
I
to
can
go!
Try another one.
Okay.
The hail one is part of the game.
We could ask them what the difference is between a...
Go ahead and choose a question.
It's an area in the game.
How many floors are there in the warehouse?
5?
5.
No, there are only 3 floors in the warehouse.
Why did I think there were 5?
Perhaps I made that one too difficult. I'll replace it with another one.
All right.
Go ahead and...
What is the key to having happy employees?
Comfortable chairs?
Comfortable chairs.
Yes. Yes, all right. That's very perceptive. Well, I think we've got a pretty good start on our quiz. Thank you very much, young man.
You're welcome.
Now,
Cool.
on to new business. We have to talk about a color scheme for the executive washroom renovation this spring. Are there any suggestions?
I don't think there was a point to that. Okay, I think that's everything I need for now. In here. Let's
Hello
go.
again, sir.
Hello again, sir. Anyways. There's usually a puzzle piece around here.
Wow, look at all that.
Guess not today.
I didn't know making weather was so complicated.
Hey. This way. To the sun machine.
There's one.
Do I need a can of sun? Might need a can of sun.
Liquid sunshine. Ingredients. Sun. Use with caution.
Okay.
Hello? Is somebody out there?
Found Wingnut.
Hello? Who's there?
Why, it's Wingnut, of course.
Wingnut? You're on my list. I'm glad I found you.
I'll bet. I am the most important piece of the sun machine, after all.
Are you stuck down there?
No, but I'm kind of lost. You'll have to come down here and get me out.
I have to come down the drain?
Yeah!
Well, okay.
Yeah!
Pajama Sam always helps those in need.
What's a Pajama Sam?
What's a Pajama Sam? Crowbar. All right. Here we go.
Hey, I found one!
Puzzle piece. Let me just hop on here. Why does the snowflake shrinking machine have a grow button?
Wow, look at me! This is great!
Yes. This?
Sure hope I don't run into any big bugs.
Luke, have you never played a humongous game before? It uses all the sound effects.
Here's another one.
I see. Humongous Entertainment was a big part of my childhood. They do, in fact, use all the sound effects. Alright, let's go get Wingnut. Little maze. Maze puzzle. Maze time. Time for maze. It's not a hard maze, but it's a little baby maze. Baby maze, baby time, baby time. Baby maze time. Time for baby maze. Baby, yeah, little baby maze. I don't know what I'm saying. I woke up 20 minutes past my alarm. I like woke up
I hope I find...
I woke up and I was like, okay, it's 8 o'clock. Because I heard my alarm going off. And I was like, man, my alarm stopped going off. That's weird. And then I did a few things. Oh, you can't see Wingnut's face. Sorry. I'm in the way.
I've got Wingnut. Now, I just have to bring him back to the sun machine.
Alright, let's bring Wingnut back to the sun machine. Whee! But yeah, so I was like, man, I should go start making breakfast. You know, it's almost time to start making breakfast. And I look at the clock and I go, 8:26. Uh-oh. I ended up not eating breakfast because there wasn't anything I really wanted for breakfast. I have some leftovers, but I didn't really want that. So I ended up eating nothing, which is why I had a little snack in the middle of the other game. But it's fine. Alright, let's put Wingnut on the sun machine.
Here we are, Wingnut.
Here you go, buddy.
And not a moment too soon, I see. Boy, I can't leave you guys alone for 2 minutes without everything getting all out of whack, can I?
Hmm?
Oh, sure, that's right, Wingnut.
Yeah, you must be the most important guy here.
What is that in the background? There's some stuff going on.
There, that looks better already.
What would we do without you?
You know, it actually does look better.
Hello, Sam. Sorry, we didn't mean to startle you.
You fixed
Oh,
the sun
yeah.
machine. Yes, I did.
That's so great!
I'm
Yes,
not making anybody
according
breakfast.
to our weather monitors, things are already looking a little better. We wanted to tell you you were doing a good job.
Oh,
I didn't even
thanks.
make myself
I'm
breakfast.
happy to help.
That's good, because there are still 3 more machines to be fixed. There's plenty to do here as well.
I love you, weather lesbians.
I'll take care of those other machines right away.
Very good. Bye now.
Yeah, I think
How
Nathan
do
was
you
right.
like
I think
that?
he's.
Not
is he?
even a word about my performance. Typical.
Is he actually voiced by Bobby Hill? Pamela Adlon. Wait, really? That's funny. I saw her face and I've suddenly realized who she is. But yeah, she is Bobby Hill. That's funny. I've seen her in like YouTube shorts clips of a show where she's like struggling, she's like a struggling mother. So it's interesting to connect her face to Pajama Sam's voice. Could weather lesbians colloquially be called storm sisters? I don't know. They could be, maybe, I guess. I don't like to apply the sibling words to people who are dating. I believe in these games she wasn't married, so her name was Pamela Siegel. Oh, cool. The inspector... Oh no, the inspector's not here.
There's one.
Gotta go find the inspector. Are they called the Storm Sisters? No, they're lesbians. Dan was saying we should call them that. But then I said I don't like applying the words,
Hey,
the sibling
one.
words to people who are dating. No, they're totally dating. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Another one.
No, do not call lovers siblings. Rainbow. Go! But yeah, I didn't
This
notice.
that'll be after me gold.
I didn't notice that I didn't notice while I was playing it because I was so distracted by other things that bothered me. But you're right, they didn't use as many sound effects. Yeah, Thunder called lightning deer earlier, so I consider that pretty much irrefutable evidence. Yes. I need an earthquake. There's an earthquake in a can somewhere. The inspector detector.
Hi, I'm Pajama Sam.
Yeah.
Hi, Snowflake Inspector.
You're the automated snowflake inspector?
No, Inspector Detector. Call me Sid. It's shorter.
Yeah, it isn't just
You
the
look awfully
nostalgia.
tired.
I'm feeling a bit run down. I need something to eat.
There's one.
We gotta bring him back the sun in a can once we get it open. When I worked in San Diego, I had a coworker that I got along with so well that a lot of people assumed we were secretly dating. Even my SO at the time was concerned.
That's a strong
I had to point out that we were more like siblings than anything else. Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that won't work. Boy, I can't see a thing over here.
How do I get up there again? Pretty sure there's a way. Oh, hey, Ham, welcome back. I don't know what... I don't... You're saying long story. I don't understand. Stop saying my long story. It's a long story short. What's up, Nemo Rete? Good to see you. I don't remember how to get up here without the crank. We'll figure it out. Let's go get the sun. Yeah, the number 4 was bad, so we're taking a refresher. An eye and ear refresher. By playing the second one. As in, I am not interested in elaborating, nor was I going to do so. These are the weather lesbians, by the way, in the background there.
Hello again, sir.
That's what we were talking about. And someone said something sisters, and then I said, I don't want to call the
Mr. Sam.
I don't want to call the lesbians I don't want to call the lesbians sisters. Oh, I know where the earthquake in a can is, but I need a, no, that's not what I wanted. Need a thing for that. I don't know where the hard hat is. I can't remember.
Wow, that's bright. Mom always said not to look at the sun.
And then Sam's eyes were ruined forever. There are a few things more infuriating than modern autocorrect. Yeah, true. You know, even if they're from Alabama, you shouldn't date your siblings.
Ow.
That doesn't look very comfortable.
Don't do it.
It isn't. Please insert more coins.
I haven't got any more coins.
Oh, great.
It's okay. I'll get more. I'll get a way to do that. I'll get you out, White Pipe. Where is the hard hat?
Hello again, sir.
Yeah, definitely can't get through there without the hard hat. Trying to remember where it was.
I guess that's where they keep the hail.
Welcome to
Oh,
Worldwide Weather, sir.
I think I remember it being in the wind machine because there's some lockers up there, but then I couldn't get up there. I don't remember how this works. Hydrate, hydrate, thank you. Into the wind machine. Oh, I can turn this off. That's right. I remember now. Now I can go up here.
Hey, I found one!
I remember now. Put the crank into here.
I knew I'd find where this went if I looked hard enough.
Crank. Crank it.
Hey, this thing turns.
Alright, let's go. Now we turn it back on. And it blows that. What are you talking about?
Hey, I found one!
I'm almost done with this puzzle.
Oh boy, a hard hat! It works great.
What are you guys talking about? Is it not up here?
The wind is too strong.
That's fine. Well, let's just go crank it again.
It turns backwards too.
Wow. Alright, let's give the sun to the inspector detector.
Here, have some sun.
Ah, thanks. That hit the spot.
You look much better.
Well, I've got to go and find Flaky. I mean, the inspector. He needs me.
I'm looking for him too. Maybe we could look together.
I can do the detecting if you'll carry me with you.
Okay.
Alright, let's go! Speed run! Speed run, speed run, speed run. Gotta go get Velo and the inspector, the snowflake inspector. Give him the thing. MLG Gaming. MLG Pajama Sam.
Hello again, sir.
This is definitely MLG. Bonk.
Hey, this works pretty well.
Bonk. Bonk. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Bink, bonk, bonk. Hi, puppy.
It's a vacuum cleaner.
Puppy, puppy, puppy. Bello! And a can of earthquake.
Earthquake in a can.
Ah, you missed
Recycle after use?
you missed the bad game. You should watch the VOD, because truly it was bad.
That looks like something on the list of weather machine pieces I'm supposed to find. I think it's
You missed the
part
bad
of the
game.
velocimometer.
It was as bad as people say.
Hello? Hello? Velocimometer? Is that you? Yes, I'm scared.
Yeah, the voice is better.
Pajama Sam is here to help you.
Hi, Velo.
Phew.
We'll get Velo
Do
down.
you think you can get down from there? No, I don't think so. Well, never fear. I'll think of something. Thank you.
We'll get Velo
Another
down.
one.
Finish the puzzle! Yay! I did it! Do you guys know I have an irrational fear of elevators? I get anxiety attacks from elevators. Yeah, she's so cute.
The inspector's not anywhere near.
When I was a kid, a flight attendant told me a horrible story and I was freaked out by them for a long time. Yeah, I've heard that about ghosts too, Kenj.
Hey, look at those boxes. I bet I could climb those.
would love to make a Humongous inspired game, but I just don't think I could, like, live up to the hype. Come on, Velo. You can do it.
Don't worry. It's me, Sam. I'll help you down.
Does Jack have any mods? What do you
Sure.
mean?
Come on. You'll be safe with me.
Thank you. Will you take me back to the wind machine?
Sure thing, Velocimomometer.
You can call me Velo if you want.
Okay, Velo it is.
Yeah, Black and Moxie are mods.
Yay!
And Alicorn Pig if she ever is in chat. Watch your ass! Jack can't get sprints since they don't have face cam. That's why I have K-bonk. That's why you guys can bonk me with things. Like that. Yep, just like that.
Welcome to Worldwide Weather, sir.
Yes, they are.
How are you doing, Velo?
Warmer.
Warmer? But he wasn't in the bathroom.
Warmer.
Good day, Mr. Sam.
Good day.
Warmer.
What?
He's in this room. Move me around.
What? He's hiding in the toilet? I forgot that he was in the toilet.
Blakey, Inspector. It's nice to see you.
Hello, Sid.
This is
Blakey.
Pajama Sam. He helped me find you.
Hi.
Delighted.
Well, I'm sure glad we found you. You've got to come back to the snow machine with us right away.
No way.
No way?
What is
I'm
happening
not
in
going
chat?
back there. They don't appreciate me.
This could be a problem.
Don't worry. I'll think of something.
Morse code sounded like censoring cursing. Here you go.
Inspector, look! You've been named Employee of the Month.
Employee of the month? Me? They like me. They really like me.
Yeah.
They sure do.
They like you, buddy. He just wanted to feel
Can't wait to get back
appreciated.
to my post and all those wonderful snowflakes.
I'll take you there if you like.
Would you? Gee, Sam, that would be great.
No, they can't.
You've made him very happy. Thank
I told you
you.
I turned it off.
Will you be coming with us to the snow machine?
You go on ahead. I'll catch up.
There's no meme where someone took Frozen and added bleeps to it. Wow.
Hello again, sir.
Oh, right. White pipe in the vending machine. Thank you. I forgot to get him out. Sorry, white pipe. I'm coming.
Hello again, sir.
I was so distracted by chat. Oh, no.
Good day, Mr. Sam.
I didn't say the tiny simulacrum. I feel like I'm inches away from a ban. I just get myself a check. I'm pretty lenient, honestly. You guys can be chaotic, that's fine. That's biology. No, not a pushover. I've banned many people.
Whoa!
Don't shake vending machines. Why? Okay, in 4.
Ouch!
I think so long as we don't say things that make Jack genuinely uncomfortable, we're good. Yeah.
What a relief. You ever been stuck in a vending machine, Sam?
I think I'm a little too big to fit in there.
Yeah, I suppose you are. Say, where did you get that great outfit?
This? It's my pajamas. I sleep in them.
You have special clothes just for sleeping in.
Of course.
Why?
Because, oh, well, that's not important right now. We have to get you back to the rain machine.
Yeah, I'll bet they miss me. Can you give me a lift?
Sure.
Come on, White Pipe. White Pipe's one of my favorite little guys. You guys are so chaotic. I'm over here having a chill time. Chat's entertaining themselves. I feel like I'm the facilitator
Hello
for
again,
a big
sir.
chat room. I like how he genuinely asks why. Yeah, he's just a curious little guy. I'm the facilitator for chat and gambling. Apparently. Alright, let's go. White Pipe goes down here. Oh no, he's up. He's up, he's up, he's up. Let's go! Up we go! Up, up, and away! Which room? With the spinny thing in the water? Oh, yeah.
Time to go back to
It's very
work.
good.
Do I have to?
Of course you do.
Why?
Because if you don't, then the rain machine won't work and we'll run out of rain.
So?
So, we need rain. It's good for plants and stuff like that.
I know. I was just
God,
having
it's just-
fun with you.
Why?
Well, because...
Gotcha.
What do you know? I guess you did. All right, put me back in the machine already.
There you go, White Pipe. Do your job.
Sam? Well, young man, I see you've fixed another weather machine.
That's right. I brought the
Yay.
white pipe back to the rain machine.
The weather is already starting to get better.
Yes,
I love the weather
the
lesbians.
sandstorms at the South Pole have calmed down a lot.
You're doing a fine job. Keep up the good work.
Okay, I've just got 2 more machines to go.
2 more
Good.
machines.
Keep us informed of your progress. Goodbye now.
We've got the snow machine, and Velo. Let's go put Velo back. I don't know who Cobra Commander is. Sorry, Ken.
Here we are.
Oh, goody, home.
There you go, Velo. You little wind introvert.
Whee!
Thank you, Sam.
Hello,
She's
Sam.
stimming.
Whoa! I wish you'd stop sneaking up on me like that.
Sorry, Sam. We wanted to say we're very impressed with the way you've been fixing the weather machines.
Thank you.
At this rate, we'll have everything shipshape before anyone even notices anything was wrong.
Ah, okay,
Hang
I
on
see.
for a second, Sam. That's our call waiting.
Thunder! Lightning!
Mother Nature!
Mother
What on earth
Nature!
is going on over there?
I like that she looks like an onion.
Nothing.
Everything's under control.
Don't hand me that claptrap. I read your incident report. You left out 1 or 2 things.
What things would those be?
Well, for example, why isn't there any snow on the Alps? My ski vacation starts tomorrow
Yeah, her
and
ponytail
there's
is
no snow.
snatched.
I'm coming over there now, and when I get there, I want some answers.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
My
Mother Nature is
She's gonna beat them to death with that celery.
It could be. If everything's
She's
not
holding a
perfect by the time
celery.
she gets here, we'll be in big trouble.
Why does she have a celery? I don't know. Why does she look like an onion?
What are we going to do?
We'd better get to work updating them right away.
I'll fix the snow machine.
Thank you. And Sam,
I'll fix the snow
please
machine. Let's get going. We gotta hurry. Here we go.
Here we are, Inspector.
Inspector, are you coming back to work? Oh, yes. Then I'm so glad to see you.
And
Time taste.
you. Attention, all personnel. The president is arriving. This is not a drill.
Uh-oh.
Everybody, get back to work.
Mother Nature! Heavens! Do I look all right? How's my tie?
Oh no, she's here! She's here! What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What do we do?
I don't know. We've got to stall her. We'll think of something.
Mother Nature, how nice to see you.
Cut the chit-chat, Thunder. I'm making a full inspection of the facility. And I'm warning you, if everything isn't absolutely perfect, you're both in deep trouble. What's this?
Mother Nature, you haven't seen my slides from my trip to Cleveland.
I'll try to live with the disappointment. Let me see those monitors. Let me see those monitors.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Soup is better the next
going
day, and
on?
fruit isn't great unripe.
It looks like everything is working just fine.
It is? Of course it is.
And who might you be?
I'm Pajama Sam.
He's the little boy who...
He's our handyman, that's
He's our
who.
handyman.
Keeps everything running smoothly. I don't know where we'd be without him.
I'm happy to report that all the weather machines are working perfectly.
All right then. Thunder, lightning. Keep up the good work.
We're not fired?
Certainly not. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to get to the elves.
Too much time on your hands, your
Sam,
bread goes
thank
moldy,
you
and your fruit
so
gets
much for
rotten.
all your help.
Not enough, it isn't worth
fixed
eating,
the
or
washing
just
machine just in
unbaked
time.
ingredients.
You saved our job.
It's true.
And the weather is all back to normal.
Does that mean it'll be stormy at my house again?
Yes. In fact, how would you like to take the controls
I'm
for a
sorry
little
your
while?
cat bit your elbow.
Me? Control the weather? Sure.
Yeah, control the
This
weather.
controls how much rain there is. And this one is a volume control for the kaboom!
Oh boy.
Kaboom! Yay! If anyone was wondering where I got my ADHD from, it's this. Yay! Thank you for the hydrate. We have like 5 minutes left. And a stretch, thank you. Oh, let me show you guys here. Here, let me show you, let me show you the first Pajama Sam. Why? Two at once! The heck? Let me just show you guys real quick. I wanna show, cause Penny's here. Just the voice acting. Come on. Do the thing. Alright, here we go.
Pajama Man. Yes, Dr. Grime. Your nefarious forces of refuse have once again been overcome by those of good and cleanliness. For I am Pajama Man, friend of the good, foe of evil.
Pajama Man.
All right, that's enough. I don't want to live that again. I don't want to live it again. Ew. I don't like it. Yeah, you forget how bad it actually is, but it's not good. Especially after playing the second one. No. No, no, no. No, thank you. Yeah, the animation's gross too. Timu Sam! Oh no, not Timu Sam. Not Timu Sam. I don't have a background. Why? Whatever. It's so bad Windows thinks it's malware. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just in the void. It's fine. Jack in the void. Void. Void Jack. In the void. It's because I don't have any assets. I could get... Let me see. Let me find an appropriate background here. I must have something. I must have something in here. For like 5 minutes. What if I'm just in space? There we go. Space time. I'm in space. No, why would I do that? Why would I do that? It's still void. Space. Gotta go space. Gotta go space. I really not have like anything. I mean, I have my old room. Could do that. We'll do the dark mode version. So it's not, like, exceedingly bright. Okay, see you in the living room. I gotta do the raid. Gotta chill with chat until we can raid. They need a babysitter. Chat needs a babysitter until Bleck goes live. It's cool. We're just hanging out. Yeah, I don't think they ever left. I think they were just lurking. See ya, hot dog soup. Oh my god, you really threw him. They got flung. Where did they go? Wow, you guys really end up in the void, huh? Get voided. Alright, Bleck is live. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this sort of chill Monday stream. I have not been motivated to do any kind of art, so I appreciate you guys hanging out, even though Maker Monday is a little bit more like Tired Monday, which does not have the very good alliteration, but you know. It's okay. Make sure you all stay for the raid, even if you don't stay for the stream. Thank you all so much for watching and hanging out with me. Morose Monday, Malaise Monday, Mellow Monday. Indeed, all of the above. I will see you all on Wednesday. Okay. Bye-bye.